Hernandez a perfect subject for the Army's first experiment with ECM.
This is the stuff. We offered him the opportunity. He said, hey, we think this stuff might work. We're not at all sure. But it might. And he said, okay, let's try it.
Hernandez had his first ECM surgery 2 years ago.
What's all any different where the ECM is compared to everything around it?
Yes, because before it was like a muscle you haven't worked out in a while. It's mushy, but now it's denser, firmer.
Skin's holding up at all. What we do when we do these operations is dissect down to the muscle, and then we take the extracellular matrix, or ECM, and just stick it in there.
This was, I guess, like a test area. Cut open my head, this cut incision, scar you see there, cut open there, packed it in. It was weak before, weaker than it is now. Since they put it in, it turned to muscle.
We've been trying to figure out how this matrix works for a long time.
Badalak knew from his dog experiment and from Lee Spivak that ECM suppressed scarring and spurred the growth of new tissue, but he didn't know why. Until he realized that extracellular matrix is more than just a structure for cells to live in.
The extracellular matrix is loaded with signaling molecules that recruits stem cells to the site.
When we're seriously injured, our own extracellular matrix sends signals for stem cells to come grow new tissue. But if those signals aren't strong enough, scar tissue starts to take over. Badalak believes the PEG ECM boosts our natural signals so that stem cells can beat out the scarring.
Ready to try and kick up for me?
In Hernandez's case, these are stem cells that appear to have turned into muscle cells.
We think we've made more muscle, not by making the muscle that was there bigger, but by adding more cells.
Since they did the ECM procedure, it's been a little more active, and there's some sensation, not on the surface, but in the actual muscle.
Okay, ready? And again, let's go.
Now, the questions are, okay, what if we put even more stuff in there? Can we replace a whole muscle? I don't know. We've got to get a final approval on the study, okay, and then we've got to get them to make the thing to put in you.
So the experiment continues. Hernandez has agreed to go under the knife again so that Badalak and Wolf can investigate a different approach to delivering ECM.
We could combine the powder with the sheets and form what we call a powder pillow.
By adding the powder in the middle of this, we've increased the bulk of the material, and the hope is that that bulk will add bulk to the muscle as it regrows.
So this is sheets of the extracellular matrix with a bunch of powder trapped between the sheets. So this is 4 sheets, 2 on the bottom, a bunch of powder, and 2 on the top that are laminated together. Now that gives it a third dimension. You've got a thickness to it.
Which means a much higher dose of ECM and hopefully a lot more muscle regeneration.
Anatomically, this is one muscle here, okay, and then this is another muscle over there, but this is all one muscle, so we would lift all this up, get underneath it, and put it like that. If it works in these people, guess what? It works in you, it works in your son, it works in your daughter. And then that becomes not only advanced local to the military, but advanced to everybody.
Samantha Tuttleby is the kind of patient whose life might be saved with a lab-grown heart.
My heart's slowly failing at 33. I'm never going to really be able to get transplanted except for a miracle, they said. I think there's about 100,000 people in this country that need a heart and would benefit from a heart. Only around 2,500 or so are transplanted per year. I think about dying on the waiting list. I think that's my fear.
She's a patient we really don't have a good option for. And regenerative medicine is not there yet by far, but there's a hope that one day we'll be able to grow a heart for a patient, a human-sized heart.
To begin the experiment that one day may lead to a lab-grown heart, Ott will need a human heart to work with.
The trick is, though, to get a human heart, because most hearts that are in any way acceptable right now are being transplanted into patients.
An untimely death provides Ott with the opportunity he needs. 45-year-old male, heart failure with aortic valve complications.
For us, this is the first time that we have the chance, that we have the privilege to work with a human heart. The reason why this specific donor organ was not transplanted was because the aortic valve was non-functional. In short, this heart wasn't good enough for transplantation, which is why we were able to use it for research purpose. What the next challenge will be is to upscale what we learned works out in a rat heart and bring that to the human size, to a human heart.
Just like the rat heart, the human heart must have every cell removed.
The first step with a human heart will be to, again, try to wash out all these cells so we can get rid of everything that the potential recipient would recognize as foreign.
Which means every living cell that once belonged to someone else must be purged from the structure of the heart. As far as Ott knows, he is the first to experiment with growing a human heart. And now the growing part can begin. This is where the similarities between rat and human end.
The human heart is, quite simply put, much bigger. You'll need beyond billions of cells to recreate a human heart muscle.
And those cells are slowly growing over the framework of the heart.
You can see as the left ventricle now gets perfused more and more with that cell culture media, it slowly changes color. For me, it's much more tangible, it's much more, for a surgeon, it's much more understandable than small molecules or gene therapy. It's you work on a real organ, it's easy to understand for me.
After 12 days, the surface of the heart is covered with living tissue.
What we're going to do now is we're going to try to exercise this heart. This heart is not beating on its own. To get those cells to pump, we need to mechanically stimulate them to teach them to become contracting heart muscle cells. I in no way would have imagined that someday we'll be looking at a human heart in a bioreactor. Even if we're not able to generate a beating heart, within the next 10 years, I think seeing this makes me hope that someday we will be able to transplant a lab-grown heart to a patient with heart failure.